Now that we have found the technology that we're interested in, we really want to get a sense of what's happening in terms of case studies, because in your research, you are expected to develop the ability to describe, to evaluate, to analyze, and to critique innovation case studies. So this is the perfect database for you to do that. So what we do is we write in a separate box, case studies. But what we do is, following the principle of phrasal searches and the truncation, I'm going to write it in this way. So in other words, it's a phrasal search, but with the asterisk case stud. And in other words, I don't go with what they expect me to do. I just decide to do it that way rather than using the, the case study or case studies. You can try those as well, no problem, the ones that are predicted. So let's do a search. And let's see what we can come up with. Okay, we've come up with quite a lot of results here. So I think that this is the point where you can then, as a team, or when your projects are in your essays, start to really burrow down and decide what you're going to look at. But you have a really good set of results to work through, following the exact same principles that we've already used, of using the left-hand panel in order to reduce the results if you want to.
Can I just ask, so in terms of searching for the word case study, is that like a separate thing? So there's separate documents that are case studies, or is it looking for case studies within journals? So it goes, okay, this identifies as a case study, and a case study then has a certain form to it. Just, yeah, I suppose, what is a case study?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think you will notice that it's basically to do with either looking at products or companies and the way they develop certain things. And they're not in a specific database, they're across the journals and the magazines. So you will notice here that one of them is in the Journal of Manufacturing Systems, another one is in the Future Generation Computer Systems. So they're across many different scientific and marketing and trade journals. And by using that phrase search, you come up with all of those, which is really, really handy.
Just really useful for our students, because a lot of the time, you imagine looking at readings, looking at theory, but these accounts of practice, which is exactly one, it's one of the core things that we're looking at here is innovative practices at the centre. So using a case study as a way to kind of model that and understand it is a really useful thing, which you can get from the resources we have.
Absolutely. And these are things that you can't get if you're working in industry unless your company is able to afford to subscribe to these databases, because unfortunately these are very expensive, especially because they're to do with the commercial sector.
And again, because you're at a university with this huge breadth of disciplines, no company has access to that kind of breadth. That's the point of institutions like university. So make the most of it.
Exactly. And exactly like what Kit was saying, have a look at the abstracts and the titles. Just the very first one, it explains to you that this is a case study. This case study can be put into practice and extended to other manufacturing processes. So that's exactly what you're looking for, future applications as well as the success of current products. So I hope that that's been helpful. The final thing to say is that if you're looking for company reports, we can do that as well. Now, most company and industry reports are actually produced by an independent research company, which is called Market Line. So this is rather different to the earlier question. In this case, if you were asking me the same question, Keir, I'd say these are actually all produced by one database, by one specific company. And then what you need to do is the easiest way to find them is to actually look up Market Line. So what you do is you keep the technology you're interested in, and in your top box, you literally write Market Line. And then you choose, in the box next to it, you choose select a field. So in other words, you don't specify whether it's the author, the subject terms, you choose select a field, which means it'll cover all of those things. So that's the top tip for doing that, using the word Market Line and then making sure you select a field. So let's have a look at what's happening here. We should have results quite soon. And here we are, we have some results. And these results are of a different type because they refer to specific companies or they refer to digital media in specific geographies, for example, digital media in Japan, or specific corporations or companies. And that again is something that you can just use the left-hand panel in order to look at the companies. You can look at the geography, it gives you the company names, it gives you the geographies, which is also really interesting. So that's another another useful tool to have.
And just because, again, this isn't my field, but I find this fascinating. So you can get individual company profiles, right? So, you know, Nike, but also you can get it on an industry, is that right? Or is that in another database? Sorry.
That's right. So what you can do is there's a database called Walk, which is really useful, and we could demonstrate that on
another time. But specifically with MarketLine, it's on specific companies and the kind of reports on what they do and kind of their finances and all that kind of stuff. Is that right?
It's company profiles, as you can see here. It's mainly company profiles, basically,
right,
relating to specific companies or to specific areas of development. For example, we saw one that was digital media in Japan. So that's an industry profile. So I think we can make the distinction between industry profile and company profile in the results which were brought up by MarketLine. And again, I think there must be a way of narrowing it down. Let's have a look. Probably is a way of narrowing it down.
At least knowing that there are those different levels, I think it's really useful. I suppose that's what I was getting at, is that, you know, these go from the kind of micro to slightly bigger to the more macro kind of areas. But again, these profiles, really useful. Again,
exactly. And also you will notice that it tells you on each instance, it's straight away, the strapline, the kind of title tells you straight away whether it's an industry profile or a company profile. Yeah. And also, if you know a company, you could always try doing something like company profile here, which it recognizes, and then you could put in, say, Sony. Let's see what happens. Sony Corporation.
You might have a few on Sony, you never know.
Yeah, I thought I'd try Sony. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So absolutely.
Each one of those, there's 24 there, and they're all profiles of the company, right? So it's not, there's just 24 papers about Sony, specific written profiles on them. It's just so valuable, this, guys.
Exactly.
What year you're in.